My name is James and UFC 302 just wrapped up. I'm going to be giving you my quick recap on how everything went. Was it a okay card? Yes. Did it live up to the expectations about what it could have been? I'm going to say no. Were the judges absolutely corrupt? I mean, I feel like that's not even a question. Of course they were. They were absolutely rigged. But let's get into it and we'll kind of see how it was. But before I do, actually, I just want to say thank you to everybody who watched my last video. It was the best video on the channel. I'm extremely grateful and thank you for everybody who subscribed and liked it. Let's keep up the success and keep moving forward. Chapters are in the description, so if you just want to see a breakdown of a certain fight, just skip ahead. And the goal is still 100 subscribers, so if everyone could do that, that would be much appreciated. But let's get into the first fight though. We had Mitch Raposo versus Andre Lima. Very boring fight. Andre Lima didn't really throw much with his hands. He had good leg kicks. He landed a leg kick, kind of chewed up Mitch's front leg because they were both southpaw. Kind of spun around Mitch a few times. Didn't really land too much with the striking. Mitch, when he landed on Lima, it seemed like Lima was affected by it. So Mitch had the potential to win this. Problem is, he didn't throw anything. That's his problem. When Mitch watches this back, I hope that he learns from this because he shot a takedown, I believe, in round 2 or 3. Too little, too late, basically. Lima already destroyed the leg, so the movement wasn't there on Mitch, and short notice probably didn't help too much. But yeah, it was a good performance by Mitch. I'm glad he went all 3 rounds, unlike somebody, which we'll get into later on in the card. Overall, good performance by Lima. He looked composed. It just wasn't that exciting of a fight. Moving on, we had Ailin Perez taking on Edwards. The pick was Perez. She got it done. I felt like she did enough in the striking. She landed the bigger shots, especially with the spinning back fist, which was very impressive. She landed very clean takedowns as well. Both girls had very poor ground control, with several reverses on both ends. Submission attempt came from Edwards. Perez did enough to survive that and obviously did enough to get the victory. Good fight. Very high pace as well. Good knockdown, submission attempts, kind of everything that you want in a fight. They had a beef as well that seems to be squashed now because obviously we have a victor in this. Yeah, I think the takedowns were just too much for Edwards. She did look better on the ground than I thought she would, but what can you do? That is it. Moving on to the third fight though, we had Bassil Hafez taking on Gall. My goodness. The pick was Hafez. I thought he looked great against JDM, even though he was on short notice. He still kind of, made JDM work for it. Hafez's problem, this is striking defense. Normal people, stuff like that. His hands behind the back, just hit my chin. See what happens. Hit my chin. It works for now. Give it, 2 years. His chin's gone. There's no way he can take that much damage. He did enough to win this though, I find. He got the takedowns when he was supposed to. He did land big shots. When he was hitting Gall did react. He did, I believe, open up a cut as well. Problem is though, is he gasses. Okay, in the second and third round, since he was throwing everything with full power, he's a big muscular dude, he gassed out. And that is very frustrating. As a fighter, if you go in there and just last all 3 rounds, I'm happy with it, right? Regardless whether you have the worst performance or anything like that, at least you had the cardio to keep going, right? Hafez did not, and this isn't like a one-time thing. It happened in this JDM fight. He loads up power with every shot and just gasses out, and that's a hard thing to trust if you go against somebody who can actually outlast you in that kind of stuff. And Gall started finding success in the second or third. I thought it was a for sure lock that Hafez was going to completely run through Gall, especially because he was going away for 2 years, or been away for 2 years, sorry. And he made it far closer than what he needed to be. Very sloppy. I don't know, it's going to be hard to trust Hafez, especially once his chin goes. And if he doesn't improve that cardio, I don't know if I can. I say give both guys another win, probably just lay them up with somebody easy and then actually test them a little bit harder. Moving into the prelims, we had Jake Matthews taking on Phil Rowe. The pick for me was Phil Rowe. I thought he could manage the distance more, land his jab, land the bigger shots, all that kind of stuff. Problem is, Jake Matthews is tough. And that was my breakdown. Jake Matthews has a very clear way to win. Basically just be tough. He's not really exceptional at really anything. He didn't really land big hits. His takedowns were okay. Phil, he just didn't do enough again. Jake Matthews landed the crucial takedowns when he was supposed to. He did outland Phil Rowe as well. Both guys had reversals. It was an okay fight. It just wasn't anything spectacular. So fair play for Matthews for getting the win. You won because you're tough. It was just a bad matchup for Rowe. I just thought he would be able to land the more like sniper shot almost and find the knockout there, but what was I thinking? People can knock out Jack Matthews. Moving on to an absolute snooze fest. Dawson versus Joe Solecki. I mean, fair play to Dawson. He came there to win, and what did he do? He showed up and sat on somebody and laid on somebody for 15 minutes. It probably set a world record. Out of the 15-minute fight, he probably spent 14 minutes and 80 seconds on top. The other 20 seconds, as soon as the bell rang, he came out and just threw a flying knee. Spectacular. I was like, who's this? You know, brand new Dawson coming off a KO loss from Bobby Green. Let's show what's up. That lasted 20 seconds. And then he just, you know, laid on top of Joe Solecki. Fair play. He had good ground control. He landed the takedowns when he needed to and kind of just did enough to stay on top and not get broken up by the ref. You could tell every time the ref was about to, you know, intervene, you know, stand them both up, he started hitting a little bit more to kind of play the ref a little bit. So smart move on Dawson. Very boring fight to watch though, but he came there to win, so I can't really be mad. It's a Dawson kind of style of fight. I think he's 21, 22 now. Not age, but like for his record. So he's putting together a nice resume. I say just see how far he can run it, you know, because he is a very one-dimensional fighter, I find. He has good takedowns, good ground control, and that's it. Striking-wise, chin-wise, questionable, but we'll see where he goes. That's the fight. You know, it wasn't anything spectacular. It was a quite boring fight, like I mentioned. Moving on to a very special fight, though. That's right, the lab experiment himself, Jailton Almeida, taking on Fatty Boom Boom Romanov. There is no way Almeida loses this. Come up with a fucking showcase of potential. Round 1 submission. That's actually my pick. Round 1 submission. Jailton Almeida is going to get it done in big fashion. Caramel. Jailton Almeida, lock of the week. What am I telling you? What am I telling you? He's not a fraud. He did exactly what he's supposed to do. He landed the takedown and he found the submission in round 1, which I did call. If you go back to the lock of the week, I'll probably clip it up and put it at the start of the video here. Good shit. Just good shit. He saw the decisions. Why are they going to do the decision? Found the submission. You know, being 20 pounds lighter than Romanov as well, fatty Romanov, he did good. He landed the takedown and found the submission. The first takedown attempt, I was kind of questioning. I was like, oh no, Romanov, because he does have a background in wrestling there. I was a little bit worried, but you know, what am I kidding? Jailton Almeida is the dude. Out of his whole career, he's dominated everybody he's fought against. He had a 20-second blunder against Curtis Blade. I do not believe he's a fraud. I thought he was one of the best value on the card as well. And he did exactly what I thought he would do. I didn't really ask much more from him. So I'm glad he got the win. Glad he found himself in the win column again. And I say just keep on running him up the rankings and see how far he goes. Moving on to the prelim of the night, or the prelim before the main card. I forget what this actual fight is called here. But we had Cesar Almeida taking on Roman Kopylov. Cesar Almeida was a solid underdog. He just was. He was a great kickboxer, transitioned to MMA. I think he's had 1 or 2 fights now in the UFC, and he's done everything he was supposed to do. Problem is, though, great kickboxer, not great MMA fighter. He had 0 takedown defense. You know, his striking was clean. He was landing very good shots. He had good leg kicks, everything like that. Roman Kopylov, though, is just a better MMA fighter. He has all the skills to get it done, which is why I picked him. His striking looked clean. As the fight went on, he only got better and better and better. He landed the takedowns, even though he's not a takedown artist or anything like that. But he knew what he had to do. He knew that Almeida had 0 takedown defense, especially in the middle of the cage. And that's what he did. So good on Roman Kopylov. He looked very good. He had a knockdown as well, I believe. I forget which round it was, but very impressive performance by Roman. And I'm glad he got the win, because I know he was coming off a loss from Anthony Hernandez, who phenomenal grappler. He was just fighting against somebody who couldn't take him down. And that's why Roman found the win. So good on Roman for getting it done. Moving on into the main card, we had Randy Brown taking Zaleski dos Santos. Randy Brown was my pick. After the first round, I did get a little bit scared, because Randy, after the first round, sometimes was a little bit worrying. He did look kind of tired towards the start of the second, and I was like, oh no, it's over. It's over. I've just lost my bet. But he found a way to stay composed, even though Zaleski did have a submission attempt. Randy stayed controlled. Even though he was on his back, he still found a way to get back on his feet and even find a submission attempt on his own. They had good reversals on each other. The reason why I bet against Zaleski, not because he's bad or anything, because he's old. That is strictly the only reason. I think Zaleski is still a dog. He still has a little bit more life in him, but he's 37. 37. Can you trust somebody like that? We just watched Barboza just come to an end of an era. Because why? Not because he's bad, because he's old. It's just your body doesn't move the same. And I think that's strictly why Randy Brown won. He landed a phenomenal knee to the face as well to Zaleski. I don't know how he ate that. But overall, this was actually not a bad fight. Pretty happy with how it went. Moving on to not a good fight though, we had Niko Price taking on Alex Morono. Moroni, I don't fucking, absolute fucking fat potato looking man. Niko Price, he did what he was supposed to do, okay? He outlasted, he had the cardio to go 3 rounds. Okay, if you're a UFC fighter, you're supposed to be the best in the world. In my eyes, the only job I find you have to do, last the distance you're supposed to be fighting. 3 rounds, 5 rounds, that kind of stuff. Have the cardio for that. If you last all those rounds and you lose horribly or whatever, fine. You know, the other opponent was just better than you. That's it. But at least you showed up, you're actually ready and prepared for this fight. You're not a fat potato looking man like Alex Morono who gassed after the first round. He had no power in his hands, absolute pillow hands, worse than Jack Hermansson, brutal. Niko Price strictly won this fight because he outlasted in cardio and was able to piece him up on the feet. And also landed the takedowns as well. Niko was just a better fighter in this. You know, he won the first one. I don't know why I overlooked that. Very, very disappointed with how Alex Morono fought, and I will probably never bet on him again. I'll probably bet for him again. You know, he obviously has his skills. He obviously is good. I'm not trying to say he's bad, because obviously he can beat up 99% of the world. But against somebody who's not, Niko Price is good. Okay. The problem is he's either really good or he's just really bad. He's not like a top tier UFC fighter. And the fact that Morono looked like that against him, have a fucking word with yourself, mate. Brutal. Anyway, I'm gonna get too heated if I stay on this fight. So moving on to the third fight of the main card, we had Kevin Holland versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. Kevin Holland, questionable chin. Oleksiejczuk's boxing looked very clean, very crisp. Landed on Holland's chin. Holland went down. And Holland threw up a submission, eventually turned that into an armbar, which I thought Oleksiejczuk's arm was going to snap right off the limbs. Questionable tap. You know, the ref kind of did stop the fight a little bit prematurely, I find. But, devil's advocate here, I'm glad he did, because the arm did look like it was about to snap. And I think Oleksiejczuk's being Polish, you know, having that toughness in him, he wasn't tapping. But good win for Kevin Holland. Questionable chin, like I mentioned. I'm glad he got the win, because I think he needed this win to stay in the top 15 to keep his name kind of relevant. So glad he got that, but what a submission. What a submission. I like that. Moving on to the co-main event. Okay, 2 things. 1, Strickland did what Strickland does, right? Death by jab. He lasted all 5 rounds. He didn't look like he was even tired for that, because he's used to sparring, right? It was a very Strickland fight. He's moving forward, doesn't really care what comes right back at him, and just jab, hook, jab. Like, that's the Strickland style. And he did very well at it. Nothing to take away from that. Costa, at the same time, he had his moments. You know, he did land a few times on Strickland. Nothing that I thought that Costa would be able to do. Costa is always known as being a very dangerous guy, very, very him. But, very him, what a way to describe somebody. But anyway, very dangerous, and I just don't think he was in this fight. He was always second to the punch. The pressure from Strickland maybe got to him. It just wasn't what the fight that I thought it would be. I think maybe the staph infection, because if you look at Costa's foot, it's a fucking volcano on it. Maybe that fucked with his cardio, because in round 2 to 3, he was gassed. And obviously Strickland, not gassed. Regardless whether Strickland had staph, I still think he can go 5 rounds. It just wasn't the fight that I thought it would be. But still good performance on both ends. I'm not going to try to take away anything from Strickland's win or Costa's loss here. It was just a good fight. But just not what I thought it would be. But what can you do? Main event time, though. Oh, actually, no. Before we move on to the main event, the judges' scorecard on this, what the fuck? What the fuck? Sean Strickland won every round. Round 1, sure. If you want to, I don't even want to. I'm not giving Costa round 1, but say you want to, right? How the fuck did a judge score every single round for Costa? Even Dana White was shocked by that. absolutely outrageous. That guy should lose his job and never ref anything again. Because how do you see that for Costa in every round? How? That is, it's on this card, not the first time. Not the first time that crazy judging has happened. They were beyond bad. Moving on to the main event though. See, this is why I'm saying it's just an okay card, you know? It just wasn't anything crazy. Main event time though, we had Islam Makhachev taking on Dustin Poirier, the Diamond. I'm glad Dustin Poirier walked out to the Diamond, like the song by Rihanna. You know, that was very meme-worthy, I guess. Sad he didn't pull the guillotine. There was even a time in like the 4th round, I think, where Islam's neck was just there. If I'm Dustin, fucking pull it, right? It's just your last chance at the title. Let's just see what happens. Islam won. I thought he would win. Didn't think it'd be round 5. I thought it'd be round 2, round 3, something like that. Poirier did cause Islam a few troubles on the feet, did cut him open a few times, but Islam, you know, he still was able to hang on the feet, still was able to touch up Poirier, got the takedowns when he needed, he had submission attempts, he just did everything that he was supposed to do. Good on Poirier for getting it done. The judges, same thing, gave him more rounds than I thought he deserved. I didn't think it was that close. I thought Islam pretty much won every round. But, you know, good try for Poirier. He's still going to go down as one of the favorites and one of the legends. There's no doubt about that. But good win from Islam. It definitely adds a good little boost to his career. That was the UFC 302 recap. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any other takes on the fights, please let me know. Comment that down below and check out the Instagram and TikTok and all that kind of stuff in the description there. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week for my best bets. And again, thank you for everyone who watched the last video. I really do appreciate that. But until next time.